Walter, being back here now reminds me, did the select board authorize me to work with you on this room?
Yes. You haven't shown up yet.
What good's that?
You know, I have to say it slipped my mind because I kept getting lobbied by other folks about the brush and stuff up at the playground.
I was going to mention it the other day, but it slipped my mind too.
Okay, well, I don't feel quite so bad then. You're probably just saying that to make me feel good.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, we can...
But I got my hands full right now.
Yeah.
But no problem. You said you were just going to come in and put stickers on the things.
Having you clean the big room, it wasn't on his task manager list this week, so.
Yeah. Well, this goes on Hal's.
Well, your task manager list can manage other people.
That's true. Well, you gave me a hard time when I did that last. They're not supposed to be assigning stuff to the board. Why not? Why not? When did you get exempt? That's right.
You got elected for this privilege.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
We're live, Walter.
Live. Okay, don't say anything bad.
How's the fire guy that got diabetic down south? I mean, something doing better?
Yeah.
I asked Chris, he says, he never knew it. He said it was like 980. So why? What's it supposed to be? He said, oh, like 10. I don't know. Was that? Oof. Ooh. Drive down hospital, drive back again.
I mean, just talking about it, for God's sake. My sister over here. She has a nice one.
No step Bob, right? Good.
Oh, you're all ready? Okay. We might as well start. I think we got everybody that we're going to get. So I'm going to call the select board meeting to order at 6 p.m. with a roll call. Tim?
Here, present.
Matt?
Present.
Beth?
Present.
Jim?
Here.
And Hal Kreider. I'd like everybody to rise if you can for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up is citizens forum. I know we have at least one person that wants to speak, so come on up and make sure the mic is on.
Good evening. It's working.
Just click the
Slide
button.
the top button, please.
There we go. How's that? A little better?
Doesn't seem
A little closer.
to work.
There you
There we go, okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Norm Royce. I am the acting president of the Northwood Lake Watershed Association. So I came here tonight. I wanted to thank you folks for the warrant article, for the milfoil control work that we're doing on Northwood Lake. We really appreciate it. We can't do the work. The work is very expensive, and we can't do the work without the help of the town. And, putting that warrant article on and then getting that strong response from the voters that we got was a really strong testament to the work that we do. So I wanted to come here and personally thank you folks. I brought a brochure, so I'll leave a copy of it just in case you're not sure of what we're doing and everything that we're dealing with. We've been starting to distribute these around town. We have our mailing going out to all the folks that live in and around the lake area, and we include this brochure that kind of explains why we need their financial support to do what we're doing. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for all the effort you're putting in. And just a reminder, budgeting season's not that far away.
Thank you so much.
If you have any questions whatsoever about the process, talk to Walter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yep.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much, and also thanks for the use of the town hall for our annual meeting. That's going to happen.
Speak in the mic. People will call in and say, we can't hear you.
Who was this guy, right? So again, thank you for the use of the town hall. We're going to have our open to the public annual meeting in August. We've issued the schedule out on Facebook and our webpage, and it's August 17th, this Saturday in August at 9 a.m. And you're all welcome to join us as well. And we're working on having a guest speaker from New Hampshire Lakes that will come and kind of share with us some of the challenges that we're all dealing with and what we're doing about it. So again, thank you very much for your support for the warrant article and for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak for Citizens Forum? No? Okay. We're closing Citizens Forum. We're moving into ongoing business. First up is approval of the June 29th minutes. Let's just poll the board. Does anybody have any edits that they'd like to speak to? Anything on this that anybody would like to speak to? Well, while you're still looking, I'd just like to compliment Paul. I think, Paul, you did a nice job in terms of capturing the essence of things without getting too verbose. I thought it was very good, so thank you. Okay, I'm not hearing that there's any edits, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
A second by anybody?
Second.
Second by Beth. Any discussion?
Jim, you're all set? You had?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
no, I was just going to second it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah, and thank you. Keep an eye, because I sometimes look in a different way. So all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And Matt, you're abstaining.
I'll be abstaining.
Okay, so that's 401. And we're moving on to the consent agenda. Walter, would you please read the consent agenda?
I certainly will. So the consent agenda for July 13, 2021 includes an accounts payable manifest dated June 30th, 2021, batch number 17704 for $152,833.93. Some of the notables included in this manifest include our settlement payment to Consolidated Communications for abatement for 2018 and 2019 that the board approved in the amount of $17,918. It includes our monthly payment to cross-country appraisals in the amount of $4,500. It includes our a payment to Health Trust for employees' health insurance benefits in the amount of $24,336.37. It includes our payment to Lakes Region Public Access, which was approved by the board at the last meeting in the amount of $5,705. And it includes a payment to McFarland Johnson Engineering for the final engineering costs for the replacement of the Bow Lake Road Bridge in the amount of $8,449.80. And a payment to, oh, I guess that includes all, oh, I'm sorry, payment to Rockingham County Nutrition Meals on Wheels in the amount of $6,272. Also included in the payroll manifest dated July 14, 2021, batch number 17705 for $77,025.05. And that concludes the consent agenda for July 13th.
Okay, anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? Voting separately. Walter, just to clarify for folks, the abatement does not come out of our budget, it comes out of the overlay, correct?
That's correct.
So that's not a budget impact item, but we still pay it out of our account. And similarly, the engineering comes out of our reserve fund?
Well, a portion of it will be reimbursed by the state, and then the balance of it will be taken out of the reserve fund for the red list bridges.
Okay, so that's the 80-20 rule there too, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, a motion to approve then, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we'll move on now to Loon Estates Co-op. Walter, I'm going to look to you to work us through this.
All right, well, I just, first of all, want to introduce Joe Driscoll, who is our town council from the Mitchell Group, represents the town. Asked him to be here tonight to help work through this request that the Loon Estates Cooperative has regarding a CDBG that was issued to them on behalf of, by the town for back in 2011. And so they have a request that they would like to discuss with the board tonight, and Joe's here to answer any questions on behalf of the board in terms of the question that they're going to be asking for. So Mike Trudell and his attorney for the association is here to also present to the board their request. So, gentlemen, if you want to come up. Want to say anything at that time, Joe?
You can sit down, guys.
Yep, no, your seat's right there. Okay. But you all sit down. Thank you.
You earn chairs.
Yes.
They're warmer, too.
The purpose that we've asked for,
I'm sorry, could you introduce so they know
I'm
that-
Attorney Glenn Raish. I represent Loon Estates Cooperative.
I'm Mike Trudell. I'm the president at Loon Estates Cooperative.
And
Jim, I just want to make sure we're clear, because we've been asked by the public to make sure we clearly state who's who so that they know. So just really clearly state your...
Attorney Glenn Raish, attorney for
representing-
Loon Estates Cooperative, representing Loon Estates Cooperative.
Okay, and
And I'm Mike Trudell, and I'm the president at Loon Estates Cooperative.
great, thank you. I'm sorry to push on that, but just last week we got asked again, so I just want to make sure we do it.
Not a problem. Thank you for having us on the agenda tonight and giving us the opportunity to present our issue and request to all you folks. I don't know how much of the background of this particular matter you've been filled in on, because quite frankly, I didn't know a lot about what was going on until very recently myself. So basically what we have here, and I'll sum it up and then fill in some of the details after I summarize what the purpose is that we're here for. The town has a third mortgage, a $201,000 third mortgage on Loon Estates. That mortgage is behind two other mortgages. One is the first mortgage to TD Bank North, or TD Bank as it's known now. The second mortgage is to the Community Loan Fund. The Community Loan Fund, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a nonprofit company that organizes mobile home park tenants for purposes of acquiring their mobile home parks and running their mobile home parks as tenant-owned community parks, of which Loon Estates is one. They became a cooperative in 2008. I think, obviously, from being in the town, a number of you, or all of you, are familiar with the property. It's located right down here on the lake. Nice property. I can't be certain, but I'm pretty sure I've been the attorney for Loon Estates since 2008, when they became incorporated. And since then, as I had mentioned earlier, when we were talking before this meeting, there's always this learning curve that occurs when you put people that are previously tenants into an ownership position. And the loan fund is very good at moving that ball forward and providing training and assistance for these cooperatives and boards to learn how to run these properties. And they hire lawyers, or they have the boards hire lawyers like myself who are familiar with these situations, these entities, to assist them as needed as we progress. Again, there's learning curves. So initially, there's a lot of communication between the board and the attorney. And sometimes there's issues that come up where they communicate with me. The reason I'm giving you this background is because from 2011, when I represented them on this particular loan that occurred, that put you folks in a third position on their CDBG loan, till a week and a half ago, I hadn't heard boo from them. And the reason that's important is because, for you folks, is because it's important to know that they're a smoothly running organization. And that tells me that they haven't spoken with their attorney in 10 years. Pretty good indication that they know what they're doing. They've done pretty well and made a nice transition into operating this the way it should operate. Why is that important? I'll move to the actual subrecipient agreement that is the basis of the agreement with the town, which is secured by your mortgage, which is in third position. That agreement has two elements. One is that the money that was used, or provided at that point in time, was used for the purpose of which it was designated. In that case, and I'll ask Mike to fill me in because he's far more familiar with some of the particulars that are going on. So if I need to, if I miss something, please chime in.
I will.
In that case, there were two septic systems that needed repair or upgrading, whatever it was. There was a problem. That loan, that CDBG grant was given for purposes of implementing the construction efforts, the plans, the permitting, and everything that goes along with getting those systems repaired and updated and the work implemented and the construction completed. That was done. That's one element. There has to be proof of completion. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Glenn, I'm sorry. Just for the board's information, can you explain how the CDBG program works in terms of the fact that the town didn't lend the co-op the money, but the state lent
Sure.
money?
It's either the state or federal money.
It's all federal, right?
Right. That
Comes
is
through the state.
Right. It comes from the state. It's designated to the individual towns. I am not certain about how that is determined, but I guess there are towns that if there's a need for it, in this case, low-income money to upgrade low-income properties, The federal government designates that money. The town is in charge of overseeing it and distributing it. That's how you end up in a position where, and so under the agreement that you have, you have an agreement, I want to say it's with the federal government or the state, to make sure that the terms of this are complied with. The terms of this are then implemented with the ultimate recipient of the money. And again, so the first element is that the money is used in for the purposes of which it was designated. There's no question on that. If there was, that would have been brought up 8 years ago, because the agreement says you have 3 years to implement, and that's it. If it doesn't happen, then we have problems. I'm assuming that because it hasn't come up, that was implemented and properly done. Mike can verify all of that. Those septic systems were completed.
Correct.
The construction was implemented, and the permits were pulled, and all of the engineering that was designated for that loan
In 2011.
in 2011
Correct.
is no longer an issue.
Nope, not so.
Those systems are working fine.
Correct.
Okay. The remaining, so what happens in that situation is it's a grant. The conditions for that grant to be forgiven occurs 20 years from the date of the loan. We're 10 years into it at this point. Okay. That occurs on the condition that the property maintain its low-income status. Okay? So those are the two elements. That low-income status is verified on a yearly basis by the Community Loan Fund and the bank, the primary lender. In this case, it was TD. The secondary lender is the Community Loan Fund. So they are constant, and part of the agreement that any cooperative has with the Community Loan Fund as part of that second mortgage that they hold is that they comply fully with the requirements of the statutory implementation of what's required to be a cooperative, a low-income cooperative. So they have to provide paperwork on a yearly basis. So that issue, not in jeopardy, not in question. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here. And in fact, re-verified specifically for a new loan that has been applied for, which brings us here.
Say that once more, because I was waiting for the part where...
Why are we here?
Well, you kept saying this, but
I
not
promised
an
you
issue.
that I would summarize it, and I didn't. Okay, all right. So what we are looking for is a subordination of your loan to a new loan. That's why we're here.
Okay.
That's what triggered your lawyer to pull his hair out when he got the email from the bank's lawyer with no background, which
Okay.
makes sense. Because and then somehow through various machinations, he and I got in touch with each other and both said, "What's going on here?" Rightfully so. Yeah, which brings him to the town saying, "What's going on here?"
Okay, but let's just cut to the chase.
Okay.
Okay, I read the thing, and I'll open it up for questions for others, but I read the thing, and it just basically says, you got to do everything, and you got all the risk. And I'm looking at you, right?
Bingo.
So what do you need from us?
I think we ought to hear from town council before you make that assumption.
Oh, okay, so that's not correct.
Let me slide in here. So, and I think
Yeah, because that's what I'm wondering. What's our risk? What do we,
well, so it all comes down to how this arrangement works. Okay, so this was money that came in that the town receives, and then the town dispenses that money.
Right.
You are the necessary intermediary there. Okay. Guess what? Being an intermediary means you're going to carry some potential liability. Okay, they're not just going to, say, oh, something bad happened to them. You seem like nice folks. It's not your problem anymore. No, if something adverse happens to the park and there's an issue, and they have every, as they termed it in the contract with you, they have every remedy available at law to recoup any lost money from the town, okay? So that's where you kind of come in, and that's where your issue is. And we've had these conversations, so as was mentioned a few times, you're in third position right now, and there's actually an email that's been dispensed.
Did you hand it out?
No, I gave you the
Okay.
copies.
All right, so let's do that.
Yeah, let's pass this. So,
That'll help immensely.
as was...
Pass it out.
Yeah, just pass them around.
So as was described, we kind of, the two lawyers at the table kind of got involved later in the game when the bank reached out asking for the town to simply subordinate. And what, just for everybody's knowledge, what that would mean is new loan comes in, they'd be behind you, and then you subordinate, so you go behind them. So it's, and if I'm describing this incorrectly, please correct me, but it's basically a refinance effort to take a large loan that they already have, as well as some of the debt from the community loan fund, and buy that down a little bit as well, and get some relief in terms of interest rates. So you've been asked to come in underneath that. That's what your decision is. Regards to this, okay, is are you willing to subordinate to the new refinance?
I'm not quite grasping. We got money from the federal government.
Yep,
We gave it to them.
yep.
And we guaranteed
That
We,
we'd
the
get it,
town.
that we'd get it back?
that it would be spent appropriately for the term of the agreement, which is 20 years, okay, which we're 9 years into, okay? So if they default, okay, to the terms that the gentleman just explained, then they could come to the town and say, listen, you need to pay us that $201,000. Because we're going to be in a position where the equity in the property secures the bank, but it's because it's so much debt, it doesn't secure the town for the $200,000, so.
Okay, so I need to understand that, and if others want to ask questions, chime up. So what is securing the debt? The total park, including the homes they're on? What secures the debt?
Can I interject there? May I? Okay, so the park, the cooperative owns the property.
Okay,
Individual tenants own their homes.
right,
Under New Hampshire law, they're separate,
got it.
okay? So the security that you have as a third mortgage holder is strictly related to the park, your interest in the property, the underlying property.
Okay, what's the assessed value of the underlying property?
Okay, I don't know what the assessed value is, but I do know what the appraised value is.
Okay, what's the appraised value?
Okay, so that's where we're looking at this email, and this was an email that was produced by the bank's attorney who gave us some very detailed information about the transaction. So if you kind of start at the bottom, that'll tell you where you are now, or near the bottom. I'm sorry, I may be confusing you on that. But in 2011, your mortgage was subordinate to $1.4 million, if I'm not mistaken.
You just,
I'm looking down at it, $1.4 million.
say the numbers again. What's
So
the-
your mortgage, your $201,000 mortgage was subordinate to an appraised value. And again, I'm looking at it because I don't want to misspeak here. It's important.
No, I'm not going to understand it unless we start this way. Appraised value is what?
Appraised value today is $1,725,000. $1,750,000.
No, it's $1,705,000 is the bank's appraised value that's in
Okay.
that email.
What's the first mortgage holder's value?
Well, so I'll give you the first and second combined is going to be roughly 1.433.
Okay?
Well, was that, it will be, oh, no. I've now misspoken.
No, yeah, it's 1,725,000 is the
Is the
appraised
appraised
value.
value, the amount in front of you would be a 1.705.
Right.
Hold on a second. That's a different number, isn't it?
Yes.
It's 1725 less 1.705 is $20,000, so we're $181,000 shy.
100% correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the remedy?
So that puts you actually in a better position than you were when you originally subordinated the loan back in 2011 by several $100,000. So your position has increased.
Yeah,
Your
but-
relative security has increased by several $100,000 with this transaction.
The fact that we're still underwater by 200K makes me uncomfortable. So what's the fix?
Well, that's the big question. So the prior subordination is very relevant to your determination here because of the fact if you don't subordinate now, the refinance will not happen.
Correct.
Right?
Okay, I've checked with the bank's attorney on that because I knew that was going to be a big question. So they're left in a position where they still need the money that they need. You're in a disadvantageous position because you're in that third place. You've already subordinated beyond it.
Correct.
Presently, and it's in that email.
Can I interject for a second? there?
Sure.
To the point of they need the money that they need is related to more improvements for septic systems. A lot more.
Unrelated ones.
Yeah. Unrelated to the original CDBG grant. So they're going to spend money, a couple $100,000 of this refinance loan to improve the existing septic systems, which are highly problematic.
Okay, so when if this all happens, what's the assessed value of the property?
$1,725,000.
What are the total loans?
$1,705,000.
No, that's what they were.
No, that's now. That's what they will
they're
be.
asking for, yes.
That's what they will be.
Right now, they're 1433.
Right. We're
They
1433.
were, okay, that's what's
And actually, that's a high estimate, too. We're
The cost.
Yes, we're believing that the septic's going to be 50,000 less.
It's still not a,
That's not, I just want to make sure I understand.
yep.
Prior to this, prior to us doing anything else, we were covered.
No, you're not.
No,
You're
third-
way behind.
You're third right now.
You're
Wait a
way
second,
behind.
wait, hold on, then I'm misunderstanding something.
Well-
Prior to anything else, we were at 1.725 with loans totaling 1.433.
Yeah, that's
In
accurate.
my mind,
Yeah.
that means we're ahead by $200,000.
That's
And
accurate.
we're covered.
That's accurate.
Right.
That's accurate.
So as of this moment, right now, we're covered.
But that's 700 and that.
Either we are covered or we're not. Are we
That
covered?
let me comment, that's 1,725,000 is based on the improvements that are made with this loan.
Okay. What's the assessed value without? Because
I
that's,
don't know what the assessed value now is. That would be something that only the town could address. And one of the conditions of this sub-recipient agreement are that they keep the property maintained. They can't do that without this loan.
So one of my big questions here is, what are major liabilities moving forward if we were to agree to what's being asked? Would our biggest issue be the need to maintain that low-income housing? Like, what are our biggest things that we'd be at risk of that would put us on the hook? You know what I'm saying?
The only condition that would the only default that they could possibly fall into would be to fall out of the low-income
That's my understanding.
housing qualification. That is the only thing left in this sub-recipient agreement that they have to comply with for the next 10 years.
Now,
That's it.
But if you don't do this work, is there a risk of
Risk of,
the co-op folding?
well, so this loan, in addition to the work, reduces their monthly outlay.
Yeah, we're pumping every month, $500 a month now, pumping septic systems. So we're almost 10,000.
I thought it was, yeah, okay,
Yeah, it's almost $10,000 a year that we're for things that we need to improve on.
And they're reducing their debt to the community loan fund by, how much?
Almost $300,000.
$300,000 by, so, and that debt load moves $300,000 out of an 8% loan to a 4% loan. That's a lot of money. So their financial position for maintaining their operations dramatically improves with this loan. And they improve the property dramatically with this loan.
Do we know what Community Loan Fund uses as a benchmark for low income? Do we have
I
a,
think it's the HUD ratios.
Whatever the HUD rate is?
Yes. I have a sheet I could give you, but I have it
Right.
in my office.
Right.
We do a yearly income survey with the community fund, and we've always fallen within the ratios.
So the agreement calls for 91%. Yeah.
Yep.
Shall be low and moderate income, but yeah.
Yep.
So I could get you that administrative rule if you want.
Is there anything we can do to help our position, such as maybe requiring payments? So like when the work is done and the pumping's not going, can those payments that were going for the pumping go towards our portion of the debt?
Your portion of the debt never gets repaid.
It's a grant.
It's a grant. And the only way the town would be on the hook to pay that back to the federal government is if they came out of compliance with their low-income status. That's it. At the end of the
Right.
20 years, it disappears. That you're off the hook, they're off, everybody's off the hook.
Right.
Yep.
We're already 11 years to go, right? So we're already,
I think it's 10, but
you
yeah.
know, give or
10
take,
or
we're
11,
almost halfway through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, financially, from a park standpoint, since I've taken over, we've done a lot of improvements. We've looked into the refinancing. We've raised the rents, so our debt rate coverage ratio is close to 115 now. So we're doing a really good job, and I think if you look at the past 10 years, what we've done, we've been in compliance. We've met all the requirements, and I think we've gotten stronger. And if you know where our park is, we're the only co-op in the state, on the lake. We're actually a desired location,
Yeah.
we're just trying to do things that are going to help us.
I mean, one of the things that could bring them into default would be as if the group of tenants all went rogue and said, hey, let's get together and sell this place and make a pile of money, right? They still can't do that without you guys getting paid. At that point, they'd be out of compliance. They'd have to pay this as part of the deal.
Correct.
Right.
So the risk level is there. It's very slight that the low income qualification ever moves out of that scenario.
Is it a lock? In other words, once you move out, you're done? Or is it once you move out and go back, you're okay?
In terms of tenancy?
The compliance.
Oh, no, that's,
So in other
no,
words,
they can be forced back into compliance. In fact, you have legal remedies under here to make that happen.
to force them back into low income.
Yep.
So what's the basis for making sure that happens?
Well, as I said when I was being long-winded initially, the Community Loan Fund oversees this, I think, semi-annually, even sometimes monthly. They make sure that so what happens is when someone sells their home in the park, the new owners, the new buyers, have to meet the standards to come into the park.
Okay. So where are they at now?
I'm sorry?
Where are they at relative to the standards?
They're in full compliance. I mean, I don't know.
How close?
Well, you have to be 100%.
I guess to your
Yes.
question is, they either are or they're not. They are.
Yeah, but if they are, but they're like teetering, and could go over next month? I mean, that's my concern, is,
The loan fund wouldn't be given this loan for this refi, and neither would TD if that was the case. Not even close. They wouldn't do it.
Everybody's well under, like.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
every-
The percentage that were required according to the yearly income survey,
You're still
yeah.
down.
We're actually having our yearly meeting.
They
Actually,
do it yearly. They
Yeah.
do a yearly meeting, and so it's monitored yearly by them themselves. It's monitored every single time someone comes
So
in.
the teetering point's here, and you guys always are down here, so.
We have a significant amount of elderly people, low income, retired, retirees that have been living there for a long period of time.
so I guess I'm still confused now, because at the start of this discussion, I said, so what's our risk? And then somebody said, oh, well, we got risks. Well, I guess now you're saying we don't. This is confusing me.
I've taken the position from the beginning. Of course, your lawyer, obviously, that's his job. Takes a different position. I've taken position
what's our
that
risk?
your risk is really low.
Well, I think the best, if I may, our best course for purposes of this meeting, and we had a discussion prior to, and they volunteered some information as to the financial health of the organization, that if we were to receive that, if I meet with you folks and kind of counsel you on your legal implications of this determination, I think that's your safest and best bet to go. And then you determine if the risk is significant. If it's not, we'll kind of talk through all those issues. I think that kind of places you in the best scenario as, in terms of a board being able to consult with their legal counsel on.
Do we need to consult with you separately? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could schedule, there's no requirement to have a meeting to meet with
non-meeting.
council,
have it.
so we could set up a Zoom meeting or a conference call, based on the availability of board members and so forth, so that Joe can just, advise the board. I think, to summarize, I think the town was put in this position back in 2010, being subordinate to other financing. This opportunity, it appears, puts the town in better position financially, but the risk of default has been in existence since 2010. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, when the town subordinated before, you are now handcuffed by that prior decision. That's in essence really what the determination is. You're not going from first ahead of everybody to, dead last now. You're going from
Dead
last
last
to
to dead
still
last.
being last, but there's something different in the middle, So that's kind of the reality of this. But if you're asking for a risk assessment, I think that's a much better conversation to have, in a non-meeting scenario when you're consulting with council.
Let's do that.
Just got a couple of quick
Yeah, go
questions.
ahead.
So is the town subordination the last puzzle piece? You're all set with community loan fund as well as TD?
It collapses without it.
Okay.
And in addition, to the point, or to the question about risk, there's 130 of these cooperatives statewide. I am not aware of one. I am not aware of one. I'm 100% certain that it's never happened that one of them has come out of compliance. Okay? 130 of them since 1982 to today. And in addition, 130 of them, there has never been, not once, a default. Not once. I'm sorry, back up. There was a default. It's been cured. One park had a problem for a while. It was remedied and it was cured. So this program has had darn near 100% success rate since its inception. And I sound like a proponent of the Community Loan Fund. I don't represent them, but they do a darn nice job with this program and organizing these cooperatives statewide. They've also gone recently, and the program was initiated here in New Hampshire. They've now gone nationally. So this is occurring across the country. It's not like something that's new or unique.
I think we have to have our meeting.
I found my number, by the way, for those of you who would be interested. So the HUD numbers for low-income limits in our geographic area, family of four, is 79.9.
It's high.
Just as that, an additional data point.
So at what point do we need to make this decision? How much time do we have?
This refinance would close tomorrow if you agreed to it tonight.
So it's just waiting on us?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not intended to put pressure on you folks because it it was we were kind of late to the ball game because everybody kind of was just moving along without, paying attention to the minor details.
So if we do not vote on this tonight, how long do you have for your application
Do
is
you know when your commitment
invalid?
expires?
I think in 20 days, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm sure the bank would issue another
They would.
commitment on it because nothing's, there's no interest rate movement dramatically, these days. Whereas, there are times in history where that would have mattered.
Right.
Yeah.
My only concern from a cooperative standpoint is we've started the work ahead of time for the septic project. We have Underwood Engineering, who's done a lot of is doing site work right now, perk testing. They're doing the site plans, et cetera, so we can prepare it to go out to bid to vendors, so we can find the best price. So, we're trying to get ahead of the curve. We never foresaw this coming, to be honest with you. Refinance, better rate, we're going to save a lot of money, we're going to be put money back in the park, and this is a curveball that we never thought coming, so.
I appreciate that. I just think I would like to.
Okay.
Council.
I have, in terms of availability, I can coordinate with Walter, but you wanted to meet at any point really this week. I can make that work.
Well, the option would be, while you're here, we take a 15-minute recess and do it.
We can continue to a time determined, right? Without even,
No, we'll just continue to 7 o'clock.
right.
The only reason I raised that was, again, based on our conversation earlier, there was going to be some financial information given over to the town about the cooperative's financial health. So I didn't know if you wanted to see
Probably
that
need that.
in advance.
That's not part of the risk as far as I'm concerned.
No, does he think we need that?
Do you think?
Either.
I mean, you're basically assessing risk based on how, are they going to be around for the
We're
20-year
having the
requirement?
meeting.
It's kind of the issue.
Let's take a 15-minute break, and we'll meet with our lawyer, and then we'll come back at 7.
Do we need to motion to adjourn to a,
You don't want to adjourn, pretty much.
we need to a continuation?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll take a recess. During our recess, we'll talk to the lawyer. It's a non-meeting with him.
Like a 50-minute bathroom break.
We should be able to just recess the meeting.
Us to,
Just recess it?
okay. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kick him
And now,
out then.
I think we should go
We should
somewhere.
go to a different, we should go into
You
the,
guys want to stay here? We'll go to
January.
Yeah, we'll go in the other room.
Oh, I don't want anybody behind us that's public. I'm sorry.
we'll go into the other room.
We'll go to the other one?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't see you up there.
We'll be back, Paul.
That's what we need to be doing, pulling in
Thought
some
that was
revenue
something
on
you need.
commercial bikes.
You need to.
You on the lake side? You on this side?
Me? I'm on the bay side. There's someone at the canal and around the launch, and I'm on the front one. I probably have the nicest one. Right in front of where the races are. Hopefully we'll get back to that this year.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back to order at 7:02. So we had our discussion, and we'd like you to submit some information to verify what you said, which is the financials for the organization, so we understand, you said they're on sound financial footing. Well, give us some financials, please, to support that.
Okay.
And you also said you're complying with the income guidelines. We'd like the reports to support that. Assuming those are all okay, we'd be able to approve you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just ask my client one question on the second issue with respect to providing information about people's
No,
relative...
we don't need that. We just need the confirmation that you're meeting the guidelines.
Okay.
Okay. And what would you like to see specifically for that?
What does the bank use?
Okay. Fair enough. Yep.
We just feel like we can't do something without at least some information backing up what you're saying.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, procedurally, not to step on anything, but I think if you're going to receive that, you should just move to table this till the next meeting. You had referenced approving it at the next meeting, but you'll have to vote on that.
Right, yeah, we'll take it up in the next meeting. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, if we go this way?
Yeah, that's timelines.
We know this is accurate.
Use the secret door.
Okay, were we all set?
Yep.
No other questions for me, then I will get out of your hair.
Yeah, appreciate you
You too
coming.
may use the secret door.
I don't know. That's a risky move. The alarm's going to sound for me out of it.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the financial software. Cheryl's not able to attend tonight, so we're going to move that to the next
Thank you, sir.
Thank
meeting.
you.
Thank you. Good meeting you, too. So I guess next up is the road reclamation and paving bids. And we have a summary in our packet, or actually that came out separately afterwards, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you want to go over those, Walter?
Sure. So, as you're aware, we had issued an RFP for what we would like to do for paving projects in 2021, which included Bigelow Road, Bow Street, or portion of Bow Street, and Harmony Road. We received a total of 6 proposals to the RFPs that were issued, and we had requested that because we were not 100% sure where the dollars were going to come in and what we were going to have available for funding for the different projects, we asked that each one of the roads be bid separately. Obviously, if we decide to restrict what we put out in the RFP, then it may affect the pricing, but that would, be based on the low bidder and negotiations with the low bidder. We don't know that for sure. It's just a matter of discussion that we would have. So to summarize, we had Walcott Construction is the apparent low bidder. Their total project cost for all three roads was $308,945.
Right.
R&D Paving Incorporated came in at $337,442.50. Brock's Industry came in at $342,021.25. Advanced Excavating and Paving that did not pick up our addendum, which reduced the amount of paving on Bow Street down to 4,000 feet versus the original 7,000 feet. And so their number came in at $439,694. And then Pike Industries came in at $349,500. And that includes the reclamation, the paving, the shoulder work, and tying in all the driveways on all three roads. As I said, we did issue an addendum to Bow Street, and we also issued an addendum that, or the same addendum that included an adjustment to Harmony Road, as the original distance was less than 6,600, it was 5,700, so we had to adjust that. So I've made contact with references provided by Wolcott Construction, which included the city of Laconia, the towns of Guilford, and the towns of Belmont. They all responded favorably in terms of their working relationship with management and field folks with Walcott. So I didn't find anything that was negative in terms of their work performance and their cooperation with the towns that cities that they've worked with in terms of getting a good product. I know they did a lot of the downtown work in the city of Laconia, which was an absolute nightmare. And we're very accommodating, doing night work and things like that, which wouldn't be an issue for us, but again, just speaks to their cooperation. So that's the results of what we put out. Now it's a discussion about whether we go forward with the entire package or some variation thereof.
Beth?
Can you repeat Wolcott's number, please?
So it's 308,000.
Oh, 308, okay.
945.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, in round numbers, $30,000
Yeah.
more than R&D, who's done our paving for
Last
several
3 years,
Yeah,
And they've been,
no
Quite good.
problem with that.
great.
yeah, so I guess that's, Walter, I appreciate that you checked on Wolcott. How do folks feel about going with the lower bidder relative to our experience with R&D?
We've gone with the lower bidder before, and we've had so many problems.
Well, that's part of the reason why I'm asking the question. I mean, Walter's checked the references, and they seem okay.
I called Chris this morning or texted him, and he would recommend R&D. I know it's like $30,000 more, but we have a rapport with them the last 3 years. They said they're going to come back and fix where the big tree fell in Ridge Road. We got a pothole on Harvey Lake Road. Said they're going to take care of all that stuff too, if they do get the bid. So we've been working with them for 3 years. They did an exceptional job on Sherman Hill Ridge Road, Casca Hill Road. So
Yeah, anybody else want to speak first? Yeah, my opinion is their work has been exemplary. And to risk maybe less than 10%, I mean, again, Walter, I appreciate
I think if we spend that extra 30, you'll see it.
that's sort of the way I'm thinking.
I prefer to go with R&D myself.
Yeah. Matt, do you have,
Yeah, I mean, they did such a great job on the last project.
yeah, especially last year.
The way I was leaning myself, considering they were the second lowest bid.
And, I mean, we had a 100,000-pound crane come in on that hill,
And
not a
it-
scratch on the road. So, I mean, just the way they grounded up, I talked to DPW foreman Chris Brown. Of course, we're supposed to say full names on the radio now.
Yes, thank you.
On the radio now, right? It'll be live. He feels very comfortable, and he recommends, we talked to him this morning, so I make him,
Well, hold on a second. Let's get Walter's input, given that he's also helping us manage the budget.
Yeah, I guess, obviously, if the basis for your decision is past performance, within the town, I think that's, certainly something, that the board's prerogative. Obviously, Wolcott's capable of doing the job according to their references, which is what we required in our RFP, and to spend the extra $30,000 is really, the board's decision in terms of, the best use of the taxpayers' money.
Okay. Were we to go forward with the 337, we have a $150,000 warrant article. The rest would come out of the budget, or would you also recommend taking some out of the reserve fund?
Well, as we talked about, based on the condition of the budget that we're operating under, we're very tight, in terms of the bottom line with several departments, because of the three-year-old default budget just isn't going to cover all the operating costs that we're already committed to at this point. So, using, we have in the default budget approximately $200,000 for construction, road construction, from the default budget. And, obviously using a portion of the reserve fund in order to get all three roads done, get the benefit of the economies, I think that would probably be a prudent thing to do. As I mentioned, I think before, balancing the books on the back of the highway department's obviously risky because we're just, kicking the can down the road, so
Right.
to speak.
We've spoken to
But
that.
then again, at the end of the day, we're going to hit a point where, we're not going to have enough money to fund operations, police, fire, essential operations and so forth, so.
Well, would you be comfortable with us approving the work going forward with you to come back with a recommendation as to how we split up the costs?
I would like to do that.
Okay. Is the rest of the board comfortable with that?
I got a question. Because you're saying things so politely, I'm hearing we need to save the 30 grand. Would be very advantageous at this point where we are financially. Because, and they're a good outfit, if we had, and I agree with going with people that do a good job and all that, but financially, we're kind of not in that place. It would hurt us more financially to go with the higher one than the lower one. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yeah, we would have to find an additional $30,000.
Okay.
Which can either come out of the, reserve account or come out of the budget.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to. We have 150, so we're essentially halfway there. And let's just say, for argument's sake, or just talking purposes, Walter doesn't want to spend all of the road money because we're in a default, and we're going to need some money somewhere. So let's say we spend another 150 out of the budget. That still leaves, in round numbers, 37,000, and maybe he'll come back and say, let's take that out of the reserve fund that we have. Which, to Walter's point, we did say when we see unexpected or blips or something, that's one of the uses, but I think he's more saying we can figure out how to do it, but, and the money, sufficient money's there, but he's holding off saying as to which is the best way to do it, and it might result in us pulling some from that.
Right, and that's what I'm asking, is it worth jumping through all those hoops when we can just save the 30,000 now without trying to find a different place to pull it?
Well,
I guess, if we're that tight,
Yeah, and
is what I'm asking.
yeah,
His opinion on it, because he, he's the one that's going to have to jump through the hoops and throw the balls in the air and bounce them around. So, why put you through unnecessary hassle that way where you've already got the references and they're good? Yeah, I'd love to go with known people too, but it just happens to be at this point, it may be better to go with the lower one right now, is what I'm asking your opinion on it, your viewpoint on it.
Well, again, I haven't, I haven't worked with R&D before, so I can't speak to the past history of the town and so forth. It's obviously.
Oh, well,
to the
me either,
board.
so there's two of us.
What's that?
There's two of us, I haven't either.
But I haven't worked with Walcott either. I can only, I didn't check the references on R&D. I only went to the apparent low bidder initially.
Right.
But obviously, they have history in town, so that's probably not necessary. As I said, my opinion in terms of the apparent low bidder for the $30,000 versus what we've used before, I guess under our current financial situation, I would go with the low bidder. But, there's other ways to skin the cat too.
Right, and that's what I mean, is it
roll back some
necessary
of
to
the
skin the cat?
Roll back some of the work, to get to the same number is one of the other, possibilities.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, would you just speak some more to what your thoughts are relative to the extra 10% that we pay? I felt that the road work was pretty good, but I think you have a better handle than me.
I haven't heard, one complaint, on the roads, we have the money, the people voted for that money, want us to spend it. To be honest with you, I don't know how many years ago when they did, Walcott came in and did Lucas Pond Road late in the fall. Actually, they plowed that road in the wintertime. They didn't sand and salt it, and then they paved it like at 11 o'clock that afternoon. And it just, to me, if they do that way, it just showed me, some of that road is still iffy.
Oh, they did that road?
Yeah.
Oh,
The one road in our town that has
yeah.
And then because the old road agent was down in that area, and then I don't know how, to be honest with you, then he went to work for him, so I don't know how ever that all worked out. So to me, and I've seen other work through, the construction site where Walcott has done both ways. I said, I've been to Laconia, and, they did a good job there, and I've seen other places where I've seen, different stuff. So I just feel like we were in a pretty good position with R&D.
Yeah.
I know it's up to us to decide, but I am also, like I said, anybody else talk to Chris? Give his, I called Chris this morning and purposely, called, text him and said, he knows all the guys and had a real good last year with them. And
Yeah, they bent over backward for us last year. Okay.
Got that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Matt.
What did we have in the budget for paving besides the 150? What was the line for that? Do you remember the number? Was it 180 or two something?
There's two parts, the block grant
Yeah.
and then the highway, there's 101 and 100 and another, two different lines.
I just think that we probably should spend money from the budget. It was very clear from the voters on our third year of having a default. I think we need to listen to them. And I would suggest we go with R&D and
Figure out how to do
figure
it.
out how to do it out of the budget, not go into the reserve.
I think with that extra dollar signs we had last year, that stuck a lot of people, so.
Okay? So, you want to make a motion? Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, before we do that, can I,
Sorry,
so,
Matt.
I haven't had time.
how bad is Bigelow?
Oh,
It's been 4 or 5 years, we put up, it needs to get done, sign off on it.
Just because that would pretty much get us what we're trying to get if we did
Oh.
Bow.
The Bigelow's Road.
I wouldn't
Yeah, I wouldn't,
hold off.
That wouldn't be the one to wait on?
Don't, yeah.
no.
Any idea when we're going to get the road plan?
We're probably in the fall. We have
We'll
a,
have it time for budgeting so we can figure what road, okay.
yes, yeah.
Well, Tim had his motion.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I'll make a motion for R&D Paving Incorporated for $337,442.50 to do the total job on Bigelow Road, Bow Street, and Harmony Road in town of Northwood.
Are we going to think about that as a not to exceed?
Yes, it is a not to exceed number.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Is that contingent if he can find the extra dough?
No, he'll
Is that
find the
what we
money.
said? Okay.
He'll find the money, it's only a question of
Where?
where.
Okay.
And that where,
We're going to take it through Paul.
with Beth's guidance, would be completely out of...
My guidance.
Well, with her suggestion, would be completely out of the budget. And I guess what I'm thinking is, that's what we're asking him to do, but if the sort of safety valve would be maybe a little bit, maybe 30, I shouldn't even say it, but if the safety relief valve would be the reserve fund.
Okay.
But the goal would be to do it out of the budget, the balance. Okay, so that's the basis. Matt?
So just one more thing. So if we were going to take that 30 out of the highway reserve, that just got funded, is that what you're talking about? So as part of the way we wrote that, it was pretty reliant on the fact that that work needed to be specifically listed in the road plan, wasn't it? Isn't that the final language we landed on? No? Did we leave it pretty loose?
No, I think it was described as being available for, opportunity costs for emergencies and also for pre-work for the following year, prep work.
I'm fine then.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right?
So 4 to 1, okay, 4-1. Okay. Okay, Walter, your report?
Yes. So just a few items tonight. Staffing update. Our full-time firefighter, Nick Carey, that was injured in the building fire on June 24th, has returned to full duty as of yesterday, Chief? Yeah.
Oh, good.
So that's good news. And as you know, we continue to look for folks to work at the transfer station. And hopefully, we're going to get one of our other part-time employees back in the near future to help fill some of those slots available in that particular department. Again, information regarding the American Rescue Plan continues to flow out, and I'm hoping that we'll have definitive details for the July 27th meeting, so we can ask the board whether or not they want to go forward and apply for the funding. Building repairs, still
Question, Walter, on the American Rescue Plan, that's different from the American Infrastructure Plan, which might include roads?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. That's to be determined.
Okay, thank you.
So still looking for a painter, as we mentioned, painting contractor. We're looking to get the 5 trees removed that we designated around primarily the town garage and here at the town hall property. And we're looking to work with ArborCare to get that tree service done, as they had the lowest quote on that. Second quarter budget review, Cheryl will be presenting that at the July 27th meeting, and we'll get copies to you well in advance so you can review those prior to the 27th. The 2020 fiscal audit, the draft audit's been finalized. They were waiting for the opinion from the Mitchell Group, which I believe has been sent to them now before they could issue the final report, so I don't have that as of yet. I thought we would have that by now, but paperwork is moving slow these days, but certainly we should have it soon. On the Harvey Lake Dam discussion, research on the dam is moving forward. I'm expecting a quote from a local surveyor who's done some preliminary research to go ahead and do a survey and title research of the dam property to try to determine who in fact does own the dam. And he expected that work to come in somewhere not to exceed $1,500. Obviously, if he finds the answer sooner.
That's in your realm, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. On the town website, Carol and I reviewed 3 template options from for a new town website last week. We felt one was more appropriate than the other 2, and we're hoping that we're going to have by the end of the week a beta site that we can provide staff and the board access to go in and take a look at and comment on. And hopefully I'll have that to you by the end of the week. We talked to the fellow today, and that was his plan, was to get it to us shortly. Under the update and review of the personnel policy, it's currently being reviewed by a HR consultant, and we've actually gotten the first draft on that, and Cheryl and I are reviewing that now to see what the comments are, and hopefully we'll get those finalized prior to the first meeting in August, so you can have a look at that, and then we'll send it off to the town attorney for final review. Update on the Route 4 Bow Street drainage issue, that intersection. I did finally hear back from the DOT engineer, and we're playing telephone tag right now, trying to schedule a meeting. He does have some options that he thinks might help cure the situation, so I'm anxiously waiting to hear those so that we can get going, and I'm hoping that it's going to fall on their work schedule versus ours, but it may be a joint effort to get that worked out, so more to come on that. I did want to mention that on our property and liability insurance, we did receive a quote-unquote premium holiday, they call it. I provided you a copy of that letter to let you know that our annual premium will be $11,112 less than what was quoted.
Woo-hoo.
And so that's a good thing. Those happen as a result of performance in the risk pool that we belong to, in terms of both claims and other factors. So that's good news from that standpoint of view. They don't come every year. Really depends on what the claims history is. So, and then upcoming meeting schedule. We have our regular board meeting tonight, one on the 27th, and then August 10th and the 24th. And that's all I have at this time.
Any questions on what he covered?
Yeah, I got a couple, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Hobby Lake boat ramp. Any further?
So right at this point, we were waiting for the paving quotes to come in to find out if we can tack some of that work onto the paving contract, based on the price per ton.
Okay, did I read somewhere Chris is going to maybe use the machine and try to at least get some boulders out or something?
Well, if the weather cooperates, and
that's
obviously,
true.
he's been committed to the culvert replacement on the roads that we have scheduled for.
Get the culvert and ditching done.
Yeah.
Right,
And
okay.
ditching as well, so, depending on how that schedule's working, then we're hoping that we can slide, before we have to return that machine, slide, that over there. Or it can still be done with our backhoe, but it'll be easier with the other machine, obviously, because it's a bigger machine and designed more for that type of work, so. Again, it's all about timing and it's all about the weather cooperating. It's really set us behind, in addition to still having to cover the transfer station during the week as well, so.
Okay, and one more with the website. Is it going to be brand new? Is it the same folk doing the one now? Because we had talked about maybe new people. What's...
Well, it's a new company, but it's kind of a spin-off of our
Okay, so
IT
there's the
company.
spin-off deal
Yeah.
still. Okay.
Yep. Again, I think in general, we like the layout, it's completely different than what we have now. So I think the look is much more user-friendly and get people to a lot of, the different information much quicker and easier, so.
There was a lot of people brought that up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hunt to find
It
things
is.
on the website, so a lot of what we call find it fast buttons and things like that to try to get the get the people the information that they need quicker without having to dig in multiple layers, so.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Follow-up question on that, Walter, if I may. Do you think it's going to be good enough to entice the other departments, like the fire and police and others that have Facebook pages and rec, to come onto our website as opposed to having auxiliary websites?
Well, I'm hoping so. I think certainly, I know Scott, in the rec department is very interested in getting tied into the town site, because that's, the place people go first, and deferring them to other sites. And as I said, hopefully, when we circulate the beta site to the department heads, that they'll find it to be something that they can utilize as well. And, obviously, we're going to maintain our Facebook presence, because that's
Right.
I think
a
that
great
people look at
resource.
that more than look at the website.
Yeah, but, obviously, if it's easier to get information on our new site, then I think that would be, great to have it all under one.
Yeah,
One
that's what I'd
address.
like to see.
Well, we can at least link them together. Anyway,
Yeah.
put a link
Yeah.
on
Well-
our site to their site.
Yeah, that's true, but again, it's those extra clicks that kind of, drive people,
Nuts.
crazy or frustrates them as far as trying to find the information. Then they manage differently. Having that consistent template, that consistent platform, people can kind of automatically focus to, the same menus, et cetera, on each page, has a tendency to, obviously make it easier for people to navigate rather than going to a totally different platform for a different department.
Any further questions, Beth?
I have a question. He had brought up Harvey Lake boat, the boat launch. Did you look into the Northwood one when we talked about that? Like, who owns Northwood Lake boat launch? The state supposedly gave it to us, and we talked last time about doing some repairs, or if you have to apply to get repairs.
Yeah, that one hasn't got to the priority level as of yet. That was,
Because that's
yeah,
the one boat launch that is used the most in our town.
right. Yeah, I think, because of the environmental concerns of the one on Harvey Lake, obviously, we're trying to address that. And obviously, the functional utility is pretty limited unless you've got a monster truck or something to, get your boat launched. So, that one there, the one on, on Northwood Lake obviously seems to be working, although not the most functional. But that's certainly on the radar to get
you.
to that as well.
Thanks.
Good. Other questions, anybody? Okay, thank you, Walter. It looks like we're making progress on a lot of fronts, so that's good. Okay, as far as old business,
Well, did Chris have anything? Chris just came in.
I'm just looking.
Was
I don't believe so.
he voted on me with the road? Is that why he's here? Did you come
I think he
for the
just
road?
likes being here.
Did you come about the road paving bids? I knew about it. Oh, okay. You missed it. All right, okay.
Okay, then let's move on to the town-owned property sales.
So that continues to consume countless hours, but we're making good progress. Hopefully, Carol has done a great job helping with the research piece and getting the information together in terms of trying to find out when we acquired the properties and, what the assessed values were going back, many, many years, back into the, 2010 and even right at
further.
2000 range, so.
Yeah, let's be real clear about that. She did a heck of a lot of work. What you're seeing in your pack is the condensed version. The actual spreadsheet and the work she did goes out to B ... I mean, there's column after column, and she really put a lot of effort into that.
Yep,
And this looks, I mean, I think she did it exactly by the book. I don't think there's any shortcuts or anything. So I think these numbers, unless we missed something in the original data, I think these numbers are really pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an updated sheet because one of the things that wasn't correct that I did finally have to verify was the penalty percentage is 10%, not 15%. So
Okay.
I had to go in and
Yeah.
went in and recalculated those, so this is reflected. And there's also some additional information about the some properties that we, again, continue to learn as time goes on, about whether we need to, retain these properties specifically for, town use and that type of thing. So there's some additional notes on those as well.
I'd also, I'm sorry, Walter.
I was just going to say that, we're going to start the process, and certainly if there's, I didn't get any input from any board members at this point in time other than Hal, but if there's some other properties that, you feel that we should hold back on at this point in time, please feed me that information because I really want to start narrowing down the scope of the properties that we're actually going to be offering because I'm starting discussions now with some auction companies, about the process, and the ones that I've talked to so far prefer to have a limited number of properties because they have a tendency to exhaust bidders over time. So they would like to see us, with no more than 20 or 30 at the max properties at one time, and perhaps split it up over 2 auctions or something like that. So, which I think makes a lot of sense. Those are some of the things that, as we pare down the list, that we can have more firm discussions with the companies about what they can do for us and so forth. I did speak directly with New Hampshire tax deeded property auctions, which the town of Barrington used very recently, last December. Had a very successful auction. It happens to be owned and operated by an attorney, which also helps because they handle all the legal process as well as the auction process, so it's kind of one-stop shopping. And I've got some information I'll give you in terms of what they do and some of their frequently asked questions about their process and so forth. And the good news is, in most cases, it won't cost us anything. They charge a buyer's premium, and so there's no cost to the town unless there's some circumstances that, require some additional legal work that they would, have to get done. And so, other than that, there won't be any cost as far as the auction is concerned. And so, he said that it's good timing. He said they're constantly getting calls about, when the next auction's coming up because people are out there obviously looking to buy real estate, and pricing, obviously. He said traditionally we could expect to probably reap between 40 to 50% of the assessed valuation.
Okay, we need to be real clear about that, because Walter discussed a lawsuit with me that is directly relevant. So I want to make sure the board is clear on this, because that may factor in, I mean, how many are there on the list right now? 40 or so?
47, 48?
Yeah, so if we're thinking about splitting them, the one thing, or I shouldn't say the one thing, but please keep in mind this. If we sell a property, let's just take, let's say that the total over here in this far column is $20,000. That's what we've got into it between taxes, fees, et cetera, okay? If we sell it for 40, we only get 20. The other 20 goes back to the lawyer, who will then figure out who the past owner is and all that. So the maximum we're going to net on all of these is the number you see here. That doesn't mean it won't sell for more, but that's all we'll net.
So so say we sell it for 40, and the lawyer costs us 3,000. Can we pay that 3,000 on it? Okay.
Yeah. All our fees, all our costs, everything that's to our account, so to speak, we can deduct from that. But, there's some where it's a full lot.
Right.
And let's just say we might get $100,000 for it at the auction, but we might only see, like on Tasker Road, we might only see that 45,000. So the previous owner will be sought by either the lawyer or the courts, and that additional funds we don't see. So we need to control people's expectations, but also in terms of, that may affect how you think we might want to group these, and that's why I wanted to make that point. Because we will not get beyond, in terms of into our coffers, anything more than what you see here. Well, plus, like you said, the fees, but we don't get those. We have to pay the lawyer for that. So basically, this is what we're going to net. And I guess, Walter...
So I guess I have a question, because there's some that have a blank.
So some properties are town-owned properties that were acquired some other way, and, some of those things we know if you look at the notes. So if there's not an acquisition date, for instance, then it probably wasn't acquired by tax deed.
Like one says 2003.
Yeah, there's several there.
So do we get $0? Because there's no dollar figure? You said we can't get anything higher than the total.
Well, if it wasn't obtained through the tax deeding process, we keep it all.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Except most of these are not real winners here.
No.
No, most of them are created as a result of mapping. When they updated the mapping and got much more accurate, we ended up with these pies and slivers and strips and things like that don't have a lot of value.
So are those ones that we auction, or do we offer to a butters?
Well, that's part of what we're going to have to think about. And that might be part of the ordering that we think about. Let's do these first, which get us, they're very clear. We're going to get some money. Do the harder ones later.
Yeah.
I think the ones to the abutters that we can do in-house, because you're doing a more direct option sale versus going public and going through the auction process and so forth.
Well, do we want to ask Walter to maybe highlight those so that condenses the list a little bit before we look at them further? Would that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, clearly you must have some in mind already, Walter, so maybe you could just add that as a sorting item or something, just so that we can...
Sure, yeah. Again, as I said, obviously, people's local history is much, more knowledgeable than mine, so if you know that Mrs. Jones, insisted that the town take this property and be kept in perpetuity, for ducks or whatever, then that would be good local information to pass on to me so we can, pull that off the priority list.
Okay, so then, Walter, what about the school lots? You're going to do some more work on those?
Still working on those. Again, I talked to the surveyor about that as well. I talked to him on the phone, but I could see him shaking his head, going, this could be a big, big bill.
Oh,
So that's something that we're going to have to spend a little more time on. I think, again, the low-hanging fruit there, in terms of the lots that have either old buildings on them that need to come down, that abutters are interested in, so on and so forth, I think those we can move forward with and get the notices out to those abutters to see if they're interested. But in terms of dealing with the multiple former lease lots, that's going to take some additional time and probably some more legal work and some survey work as well, so.
so what would help you move this forward the most? What do you need from us to help you move forward?
So as I said, if I can get some feedback about any particular properties that, other than what we've already heard from Conservation, if we can, of other properties that should be retained or considered for being retained, then that would help me set those properties aside.
And then you'll also set aside the ones that you think maybe we're just going to handle, like with the butters, or your thoughts that we'd handle directly?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so
We can just
then,
like color code this then.
oh, I love the color
I
coding.
love color code.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do like yellow for, the conservation and, I mean, just,
Well, he did have a
I teach 5-year-olds.
He did have a sort thing on the spreadsheet, so maybe we just give you that sort
All right,
feature
there
back.
And then the other issue that comes into play is, of course, anything that we acquired by tax deed in 2018 and up to today still has a repurchase attachment to it. So whether we decide to hang on to those properties and let the third year, because some of them were acquired, quite a few of them were acquired in 2019 and 2018, whether we hang on to them for another year or two and get beyond the repurchase timeframe, or include them in the auction, then it's just the additional work and the time frame that we have to allow the former owner to have 90 days to respond to the fact that we're going to be putting it up for sale, and whether they want to buy it back, that type of thing.
Well, Walter, on that, then let's open this up for discussion with the board, because from that perspective, even though you reduced it from 15% penalty to 10% penalty, on the assumption that they aren't going to pay till we force the sale, is there any reason we shouldn't let those taxes sit and accumulate at 10% per annum? I mean, I don't think we can get a better deal at the bank.
No, certainly it's actually 18% as far as the interest is concerned. It's 10% on the penalty.
Oh, it's 8, oh, I'm sorry, I misheard. Yeah, so 18%,
Yeah.
then,
It's
you
only the
understand what I'm
penalty.
saying,
Yeah, we can
Jim?
get more money out of it.
Yeah, we'll get more money, and really, the 3 years makes it, after the 3 years passes, it makes this easier to do also, right?
Yes, yeah, it takes that restriction, that repurchase option.
Right, so maybe that's the third main thing that pushes some of them off, and then let's see what we have. Maybe we have a nice list at that point then.
Okay.
Does everybody feel comfortable with that approach?
That could be pink.
All right. I guess what Beth's saying is you better consult with her as to how to color code.
No problem. I can make it another color, no problem.
Okay, so anybody else want to talk about any of these, or, you know what, just submit your comments to Walter, but if you could do those sort of classifications and let us regroup and see what's left, maybe we have a list that we could then just say, move forward, please.
Okay, great.
When do you think we'll actually be doing this then? Is this like a fall thing, or?
Well, I'm hoping it's not that late.
all right.
Again, depending on which direction we go with available auctioneers and that type of thing, these folks that I spoke with today have availability to do a sale, in September.
Oh, great, thank you.
And that's just an FAQ, again, about the process, so rather than me spieling it out here, it would be just as easy, because those are pretty common questions.
Do you know if the recreation director's looked at this list at all?
No, not yet.
It would be probably helpful to have him.
Yeah, I
Just
think we
scroll
talked
through.
about the commission looking at it as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
they'd be
let's
happy
get
to.
that feedback.
I'll send it off to him this week if you'd like.
And then, and so folks know, Walter, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if we want to retain some of them, then by statute, I believe we have to go to the voters and tell them.
Yeah, and they have to vote to do that. You know, if the town decides they want to retain it for recreational purposes, you know, or conservation purposes, you know, in perpetuity, then that has to be approved by the voters, the legislative body.
Right, especially if we're going to develop it.
Well,
Yeah, but just to retain it
Right.
and not put it back out on the tax rolls takes the majority of the taxpayers, the majority of the voters at an annual meeting to approve that.
Can we get a clean copy of this with the updated numbers digitally? You can
Sure.
Email that up?
Yep.
That'd be helpful.
okay, anything else on this? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay,
Thank you.
great, Walter. Let's just keep pushing this forward, and I guess let me ask it this way. If we can agree on the list at the next meeting, you could then start moving forward with the auctioneers. You have a list to work from in terms of auctioneers that you feel comfortable with?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so the onus is on us to get back to him so they can refine the list. And then let's target trying to have a list of approximately 20 or so to move on in September, you know, as soon as you can get an auctioneer then. Great, that'd be terrific, really. Okay, now we're moving on to new business. Alternate appointment for the Stratford Metropolitan Planning Organization. That was in the packet for Victoria, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, do you need a motion for that?
So we actually need an alternate.
Oh,
That's the question.
so Victoria is the primary?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, we don't have the,
So the alternate is vacant, and, you know, they meet monthly, and I think there's been conflicts, you know, that she hasn't been able to make the meetings and so forth. So it's good to have an alternate in place so that we can have representation at those TAC meetings.
does it need to be somebody from the planning board, or can it be a citizen at large?
It can be really whoever you know, in some cases, it's staff, you know, obviously, because originally I talked to James about whether or not he would be available, but unfortunately, he's not available the days that they meet. And so, you know, it could be something that I could serve on behalf of the town, or if you wanted to find and could find a citizen that would have the time to attend the meetings when necessary, you could go that route too.
Would we want to consider posting this, or have we
9
already?
a.m. on the first Friday of every month.
Yes.
Well,
What is it?
That's a problem.
well, why don't was it posted at all, asking for people of interest, or is this the first time it's coming up?
This is just the first time it's coming up.
So why don't we at least post it on the website and Facebook pages saying we're looking for somebody, provide some details, and see if we get any bites.
Would you be able to attend until we actually find somebody that, may probably only be one meeting if you had?
Yeah, if necessary, I can let Victoria know that I could fill in
Okay.
until then.
I think that sounds good to me. I mean, do we need to vote on that? No, I don't think.
No.
That's just, yeah, okay.
No, go ahead.
Everybody comfortable with that approach?
Yes.
Get it
Yeah, okay.
posted, looking for volunteers.
Good, yep. Great. Okay, now Beth,
Yeah.
we're coming up, you know, are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready, go.
So, we're going to review existing policies, Beth. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. They go, here's your policy.
After she waited how long for this? Well, Walter, it is indeed good to get to this point. Thank you and Cheryl for getting us caught up, and now, you know, thank you for getting us to the point where we can actually do some reviews. Given that Cheryl isn't here, are there some that we can still review without her?
Yes, I think we can probably review all except for maybe the credit card policy. That again is the one that pertains to town credit cards, not people using credit cards,
Right.
which is the other policy that we're going to talk about, which is solid in terms of being laid out in statute as far as what it has has to contain.
Okay, so which one you want to do first?
Well, just going by the first one on the list, I'm not sure how I actually put these together, but the one that I would suggest, maybe giving some thought to is the appointment to boards and committees policy. It looks like that's been in place for about 21 years. Obviously, things have changed, and getting people appointed and reappointed is changing in terms of policies that I've seen in communities now, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it seems like we're in a more sophisticated world, so people have access to more information and have the ability to perhaps spend a little more time, contributing to the community. Some of the towns I've worked in have an application process, where people provide information about their availability, their interests, their education that they feel might be advantageous to be serving on a committee and that type of thing. And then there's a review committee that looks at those applications that in some cases is made up of either a couple of members of the board, one member of the board, so it doesn't require a public meeting to interview the people. And then they report back to the full board with a recommendation, about whether or not they would be a good fit for the board, that type of thing. Maybe talk with the chairman of the particular board that's got a vacancy and that type of thing. So it's just a little more of a diligent process that could result in, perhaps a more productive board or committee in some respects.
This is just funny because really we just say, if you want to be on a committee, write a letter.
Yeah.
We'll say, sure.
Yeah, and that's been the case for many, many years. But I think now, in order to make sure that there's good compatibility in committees and groups and so forth, and obviously tapping into what hidden talents are out in the community. A lot of time that's how committees are filled. With former engineers or former financial people. Those types of things that could serve on committees where they have expertise, versus somebody that just raises the hand because nobody else did, type of thing. So other than, I think something like that, and other than making some changes to that policy that addresses the administrative assistant versus the executive secretary, if the board, is interested in considering some of those options, we could look at a rewrite and see if there's, an application that we can find that would be appropriate as well.
I think it'd be, I'm sorry, others want to speak to that?
Very good. You finish your...
I think it'd be good from the perspective that when people then apply, we can start learning who some of these people are, because then you might also have them consider other things that maybe they didn't think about. And as you said, sometimes people have expertise in their line of work or past work, and if we can take advantage of that, I think it'd be terrific.
I understand, but I don't want to make it too difficult, too complicated, because you can't get volunteers to volunteer now. I don't want to make it like, oh, here, do a 200-word essay. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So
it shouldn't be a college application process.
It should be pretty simple and straightforward. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you have no idea what Rec Commission does, but you're like, oh, it sounds fun, I want to give back to my community. I don't think that you should be penalized because you don't know how to play kickball.
But
I mean,
you
yeah.
should know how to play dodgeball, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to have it be too intimidating. People don't want to volunteer.
No, I think it's more just kind of tells a story about who the person is and what their interests are, because that also becomes a resource too. If you have a opening that comes up on a particular committee that somebody has some strong interest in and experience in that particular field, it'd be great to have that in your file so you could, talk to that person and say, we just received an opening. Are you interested in filling that position?
So you would consider just, making it an open volunteer application
Oh, yeah.
in addition to specific?
It could be on the new website link.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I used to keep them in a binder,
Yeah.
so that, if one person's more qualified for a particular opening,
Yeah, then,
then that person could stay in the binder, and all of a sudden, something comes up, on the...
Stick in the binder.
On the rec commission, and here's a person that's, there's a rec director, or, some experience in, recreational activity. That resource can be in a, at a fingertip to tap into.
does anybody want to speak to this?
I was just going to say, before, we get involved in all this, are we doing the ambulance billing?
That's on the list.
I don't know if we're going to,
How about we do this? How about we wrap this one up and then go right to
I was
the
just going
ambulance
to
billing?
say, I don't want to,
But I think he's also staying for,
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
yeah.
He's camping out.
I think this is a great idea. I love the
More people
love
we
the
get.
concept of having, a database full of people that includes what they're good at, what their experience is, and being able to drive greater numbers of people getting involved and stuff. I think the hard part is just figuring out how we do it in a way that will actually get people to go through that process.
Well, as a suggestion, I can send you the form we use at Bear Paw. And it's just a one-pager, and it just lists off different things that you think you're good at, and you just check them
Check
off,
'em off.
write your name on it, and turn it in. And then we do just what you said. We keep a folder of them for either committee members or board members, and we the governance committee,
Charming, check.
What's it? In my head, it's like one of those terrible BuzzFeed quizzes that you take. It's like, you should
just
be on the planning board,
if you've, yeah. Well, I think, yeah, but I think you can make it, like Beth was saying, pretty simple. List of capabilities and attributes that you think you have, and, it's a great resource, so.
Yeah, it's
Like taking walks in the park.
Yeah.
Recreation.
There you go. Conservation.
yeah, exactly.
Like chasing butterflies.
Okay, well, so we'll work on a draft
Okay.
Thank
for
you.
a future
Okay.
review and discussion.
Okay, sounds good.
The other one of the other ones to talk about is the policy for expending from the recreation revolving fund. My recommendations, I gave you a review copy with some of my recommendations, but primarily I think it should mirror our purchasing policy, which it didn't do, and I don't know why, but I think it would be, to be consistent, with our purchasing policy, it should mirror the same categories in terms of the limits of the director, the administrator, and then obviously, the board is limitless.
Yeah, makes sense.
Other than that, I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that.
Okay.
And
Anybody else want to comment on that, or?
No, the more stuff we
No,
can
it just needs to be
put
more.
in, yeah.
Okay, move on, please.
okay, we can do that. Let's see. So as I mentioned, as far as the credit card ordinance, which is what is required by statute for the town to accept credit card payments for things like, auto registrations and things like that, that, the best of my knowledge, conforms with current statute, so I don't think that needs any modification at this point.
2017, so it's not that far.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that one's good. I think we-
I got one question on that. The 2.99, is that fixed because of the company that processes it, or?
Yes,
Okay, so
Yep.
that's just the processing fee of the people we use?
yeah, we just pass on the fee to,
Because it says 2.99 in there, so if the fee went up or down, it would still be 2.99? Or can we
would
word
have
it
to,
that it would
we would
be-
have to amend it,
Okay,
yeah,
Oh, we'd amend it as opposed to just say
yeah,
what fee. that's
right,
in
according
charge
to the
current fee.
processing fee, and leave it,
yeah.
And the fee hasn't gone up since 2017?
I don't believe it has, I'll have to double check for
Right.
sure with Marissa, but with,
Well, I'm kind of in line with Jim, if we can make it generic, so when it changes, we don't have to rewrite the policy, it's just one more thing to forget, or,
If we can, I'll check, we'll have to check statute to make sure.
Oh.
It may have to
It
state,
says RSA.
oh,
may have to
oh,
state in the policy, what the fee is. But that's
I'm with
something
you.
that we can look into.
Right, but our policy can be generic, and then in another place, like when we send out the tax bills or whatever, or registration, it says on there that the processing fee.
Yes.
So that's where we can make it specific, but in the policy, it can be generic.
he's going to check the
Yeah.
statute. 'cause he-
Right,
he's
okay, so
saying
it might
maybe
have to
even that.
be specific in the policy.
In the policy, I'm not positive.
Okay, I
This
get you.
this is actually
At
an
least that's
ordinance.
what I'm hearing.
Back to you, go, yeah.
I get you.
So I guess check the fee, and then if it's still 299, we can just leave that one.
I do.
Somebody's haunting me. And then the last one we can cover tonight is the ambulance billing procedure, which Chief Tetro reworked because the one that we had was several years old. And Cheryl has reviewed this.
Oh, she has?
And,
Okay.
yeah, you didn't have an issue with it, and Chief, I don't know if you want to speak to it now. If you do,
Got to use the mic, Chief. You want to come sit over here, any table in the con?
Comfortable chair.
Okay, so, Mark, you're going to have to state your name and your official title.
We know who you are, but people at home watching don't know who Mark is, so.
So we can't call you Mark, we're going to call you Chief. No, we'll call you Mark, but,
Call me whoever you want. You're the boss.
but please state your full name and your title.
My name is Mark Tatro. I'm the fire chief.
Thank you.
Very simple.
So basically what I did is I took the old policy and
Yep.
reworked it to reflect what we're doing now. And it's been kind of in the works for a period of time as we revised our billing and our how we were doing things. And we used to process all the checks from the insurance companies here at Town Hall, and now everything goes through Comstar, and everything's direct deposited. We don't process checks anymore. Included in there, the time period for our medical reports to be done, and that goes hand in hand with our medical resource agreement with Concord Hospital, and when we have to have our reports done based on the severity of the patient. When I first came here, every month we get a list of bills that are delinquent, and it's called the billing disposition. And now I review that every month, so instead of reviewing hundreds of calls that had never been reviewed, I review them every month and say whether we're going to send them to collections or whether it's a Medicare that we can't collect from anyway. So on occasion there'll be a write-off because we can't collect more than that from Medicare. And then there will also be hardship waivers that people can file. In this policy, it says any hardship waiver will go to the town administrator for approval. And most of the times when people put in a hardship waiver, they're really down and out. I did find that Mass Health will not cover our ambulance rides. And we can become a provider for Mass Health, but we do so few of those every year. We'd probably expend more money going through the process every year to become a certified mass provider than it's worth. So.
Do you think do you think because we have so many, like, people that come vacation here, or they have summer homes here that are from Massachusetts, would that be something that we should have? Are we losing money because of that?
We're not, because most people that are on Mass Health don't have summer homes.
Okay.
it's,
I don't know what Mass Health is.
Medicaid.
Thank you.
So that's really about it. I mean, like I said, I just tried to reflect what we're doing now. And I think we've been pretty successful in collecting more than we have in a long time. So.
Questions by the board? Beth?
So when someone says they can't afford the bill, like how do you do that? Do we, like,
So
I would think if like to approve that, or does it go like to the welfare department? Do they need more help, or?
So there's a hardship waiver form, and they call generally ComStar, and they say, I have a hardship waiver, and they send them the form, they send the completed form back to ComStar, ComStar forwards it to me, and then I forward it to Walter for either yay or nay. And usually they include a photocopy of their latest tax return, so it shows how much money they're making.
And like you said, then if it goes to Walter, he might be able to recognize if somebody was falling under the radar, so to speak.
Right.
And
Like if someone, needs help, like the
Yeah.
welfare department, I want to make sure that they're getting assistance to help them back on their feet.
it's him.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Generally, we don't see a lot of hardship waiver requests from Northwood residents.
Oh, okay.
So,
I haven't seen one yet.
so most of the money comes from the insurance company,
Yes.
most of the time? Okay.
Yeah, and as a matter of course, we don't balance bill unless it's a copay or a deductible. So if your ambulance bill is $1,000 and all the insurance company will pay is $900, we take the $900.
Right, right.
go ahead.
So it's like my general knowledge, like, if somebody gets hurt in Northwood, it's a set fee, and then whatever medical stuff you do to that person goes up, or, I mean,
No, so we have what's called bundle billing. And so previously, there was a flat fee for the ambulance, and then everything we did to you was more money. Right. What we do now is we have a basic life support rate, which is if we go and we splint your leg and we transport you to the hospital, we don't do any advanced procedures, it's a basic life support transport. If we do an IV and we have to give you some anti-nausea medication, that becomes an ALS 1 rate. And then the ALS 2 rate is for when you're really sick, and we throw the kitchen sink at you. And
your numbers are compared to like Epsom, Barnes, you're good with your numbers?
Yep, so I think that's something we should look at from time to time, but I think when
We
Hal
did not long ago.
recently got on the board.
Like a year or two ago, I think?
Yeah,
It wasn't
we looked
that
at it, and
long
we put
ago.
us right about in the, ComStar handles, I think, about 30 New Hampshire accounts, and we're right about in the middle. So we're not higher than everybody else, we're not lower than everyone else.
But I think Tim's got a good point. That could, maybe not, every 6 months, but regularly, maybe like with the procedure, let's take a look at the fees also. Because the longer you wait, the more out of.
It's not hard to do, especially since we've just done it a few years ago.
Yeah, why not?
I can do that.
Yeah, well,
Imagine you go to some chiefs meetings and see what other towns, so just,
What I usually do is call ComStar and I say, send me your list of what everyone's charging, and they'll send me the list of 30 clients and in numerical order, and I just go through and say, where are we in comparison to them?
size-wise, call-wise, good.
why don't we add that as an item to do? Maybe as part of getting the, well, is this one ready to approve at this point?
Unless you have any other proposed changes?
Anybody have any?
No, you're happy with it, chief? We'll put it down, I wouldn't.
Then how about a motion to approve it as written?
So move.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
All right.
Terrific, thank you. So, Chief, a related question. Sometimes in the past, you would text me we got so much billing this month, and I sort of keep a tally of those. And then at the end of the year, I looked at what Sandy reported, and it was more than my total. What's the...
So, first of all, we got some COVID money last year for missed ambulance revenue. And then, I don't know if sometimes, we have a different cutoff at the end of the year.
Oh, that could be too, yeah.
So ComStar, when they send me the December whatever, they cut that off on the 25th. And we may actually still receive money
Yeah,
until the end
okay,
of the year.
that makes
but,
sense, yeah.
I think most of last year was COVID money that bumped us up quite a bit.
Okay, good, thank you, appreciate it, because I think we're up closer to 150,000 a year annual rate now. I don't want to
It
spook
might
us
be a
on
little
that.
optimistic, but yeah. Yeah,
Certainly 120, 130.
yeah, we're in good shape so far, so.
Yeah, okay.
I think
People aren't afraid to go to the hospital anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
okay. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, we hired some new people. Have we, has anyone started yet? Are we still waiting for background checks, or are we getting more
Yeah,
shifts
I'm
covered?
glad you brought that up, because one of the candidates dropped out. He decided not to. He got hired as a career firefighter in Lee.
Okay.
And two of them have started. They're doing their training shifts. One of them went away on vacation. I haven't heard back from her yet. I think that was it. Oh, and I've called one of the candidates that lives in town and haven't heard back from him. The one we discussed at a length. So I will reach out to him again and see if he's still interested.
Good. Good. Thank you. Appreciate what you're doing.
You're still taking, I mean, you're still looking for people, I mean, it always can't hurt to have a list.
Yeah, we are always, doors are always open, and, you know, you never know. Sometimes you get people come in and say, hey, I'm a paramedic, I just moved to the area. And it's like, oh, really? We'll take
But
it.
even a volunteer, like, that could be on the list. Like to put out fires.
Actually, no, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
I know, last year, right when I first got elected, I think it was a gentleman from Chichester, was one of the priest, reverend, chaplain, is he?
He never did his criminal background on
Okay.
so
Unfortunate.
we
As you
may
know,
ask our new
with the-
selectman to step in as when we do our housing for our new pumper.
You do a blessing.
Okay.
And you guys went down, saw, thank you for the pictures.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Good.
hope you put some more color out than just the stainless.
Yes, yeah, that's all going to be painted, so, yeah, it was a nice trip. I took the train, the other guys took the plane, but
I like that, I did get trained.
Okay, let's
They're not
wrap.
getting into too many details, but the other gentleman's all right, you're good, you got a fireman?
yes, yep.
And thank the department. They've been very busy the past.
Yeah.
Yes, good job.
So
and
thank you so much.
Thank you for the other towns too, to come in.
They did nice, yeah, we
Actually-
can't survive without the other towns.
It's a good,
That reminds me, when we have assisted some of the other towns at a big fire,
they sent something.
they sent notes. Should we send notes?
Typically I do. I haven't got around to doing that yet, but typically I send a thank you.
Okay. If
Thank
you
you.
want us to sign on that too, let us know.
That's completely up to you. It's generally handled at the chief level, but.
That's fine.
Thank
That's
you.
fine. But let's make sure we do it.
All goes both ways, so we appreciate all the towns.
Yeah.
We go there, they come here, so.
Okay. We're going to move on.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Walter. Color coded.
Yes, live and in color.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Mark.
okay, we're moving on to the task manager. Again, this is Walter's list of things that he's working on, and it's your opportunity to speak about relative priorities or get questions answered relative to status.
I have to go back to that page now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it myself.
61.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, anybody have anything they want to discuss on Walter's spreadsheet?
So as the chief, I should ask him, he just left, and Scott, are we using the building next door yet? Has he got any classes lined up or anything? What?
No, actually, I met with Scott today. He got so bound up with the playground that he hasn't had a chance, but
Okay.
That's fine.
still, we just met today and talked about that, and he said, he's got it on the radar, and he's thinking probably September before he would utilize it. But just to get through the summer and, with the beaches and finishing the playground, et cetera.
So speaking of beaches, I've been seeing on Facebook that there's been a lot of out-of-town parking at the beaches. So I know we hired that girl. Any chance that maybe woman, the lady, the person, But it seems like, I mean, I've gone to Northwood, and I've gone to Mary Walden, and there are, like, not Northwood cars there. So I know we only have one person that's checking. Would he be able to check once in a while, just so we can get more people out there looking?
The other towns, or they don't have a,
They don't,
like
they don't have,
a dump sticker?
they don't have dump sticker, and
A fixed
I don't
sticker,
know
right.
those children. I
Transfer
pretty much
station.
know all the kids, so
Yeah,
Oh,
I
right.
pretty much know all the kids in town.
I don't recognize you.
can mention that to Scott. And see, I know that he had indicated that Payson is the woman that we hired, hasn't had any issues, that have come up, but we didn't talk specifically about checking. that.
Nobody's saying I can't park there. We haven't got any complaints saying, no room for me, I'm a resident, so.
I've seen lots on Facebook, and when I went, I was the only car that was from.
But have they, Facebook,
Oh, I
I
don't
mean, to me,
know, I don't know.
Facebook is,
No, but I'm saying, but I know that I
They
went,
need to go-
and I was the only car.
the people on Facebook need to go through the channels to get into the
I
town
agree.
website and
I agree, but
say a complaint. Facebook, they can talk all they want.
maybe that should be one of the little links on that thing. Complaint.
If they have a complaint, call here, don't put it on
Well,
Facebook.
Let's see what Scott and,
Yeah,
what's her name, please?
Payson.
Payson. Let's see what they say, and let's have a report from Walter next time.
Okay.
Because she could go, or check it at 9 o'clock, and at 9:10 someone goes, so it means.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
that's
But
the
at least
problem.
we can
Yeah.
find out what their feedback is, and
Yeah,
that
she
we're
could
not
be
feeling blind.
One of the other beaches, and people pull in, and,
Yeah.
then you're chasing people on the beach, and,
Yeah.
Good thing there's small beaches.
Yeah.
They run too far.
Okay, I'm moving on. Board committee reports. Matt, I'll bet you have some stuff to say.
Sure. We've had big doings on recreation. I know you actually briefly talked about the playground at the last meeting. It was a huge success. It looks amazing. I've been up there a lot over the last couple of weeks, and there's been at least 2 or 3, if not more, cars every time I go up. There's more work to be done. We need to sort of shore up where the wood chips are, and the fence will be going up shortly. But we should be looking at like a grand opening type event later this summer, and
What is
it's
the other
going to
piece
be really
left up there
exciting.
with the little green roof?
So that's going to go down by where the swing set is down below. So we'll have a couple of pieces of equipment down there when the small fields are being utilized. So siblings and stuff can go play on that without having to go all the way up and scare mom and dad. So it was an amazing success. We got a lot of people to thank in town. That'll be part of our next step. We're going to order signage. Well, the Friends of Northwood Recreation is going to handle the signage. And there's a lot of people to thank, and it was a really amazing community effort. So
Describe fence,
it's going to be coated chain link, 4 foot around the perimeter of the area that's covered in wood chips now. Yep.
good luck on the posts.
Yeah.
You know, we
See that, you look over to that big puddle, the big hunk of ledge sticking there?
yeah, but you know, we dug
Got
about 100 holes.
Are you putting up
So-
the fence, or are you hiring someone for the fence?
No, we're hiring a vendor.
Yeah, because they have augers.
Yeah, we got multiple bids in, and it's actually going to come in real cheap. But again, that's not a taxpayer-funded thing. That's coming through the nonprofit.
So you did find someone then? I know that.
So it's against like
It's
a
hard to find
4-foot
something
gate,
good.
or like an opening, or?
Yep, there's going to be a standard-sized latch gate, and then I think, 8-foot utility gate for when we need to get in there. Yep. So that's exciting. Other than that, the commission's been really busy. Scott's been doing a great job of trying to create the recreation director's been doing a great job of creating some new programming, trying to gather input from the community at large. So for those of you watching the meeting, if you've got recreation ideas that you want to see enacted in the next little bit, reach out to the recreation director. He's actively soliciting that kind of input. You know, I personally think that the Board of Selectmen could put together a really solid softball team. And so I'd love to see some adult softball going on.
I'm afraid of balls coming
No,
from
you
this.
got it.
I do horseshoes, though.
And a horseshoe tournament is the perfect sort of thing.
I do horseshoes.
The rec director is really looking for all of that input. So,
That's it.
yep, exactly. So, just encouraging folks to reach out with all those ideas, and similar to what we were talking about with the boards and committees, if you are a yoga instructor or a Zumba instructor, or you just want to get a group of people together playing cribbage. So, those are the kind of stuff we'd be looking for people as facilitators and program leaders as well. So again, reach out to any member of the commission or to Scott Blue at the Recreation Director.
Matt, do you know if he has that list? Because a couple of years ago, I had that list.
I don't know if he does at this point. I know he's working hard to sort of start fresh.
I think there was
If you have it around, that'd be
No,
super
I
helpful.
hate it. There was, I
You get it?
had 60 people on that list that would be
Yeah.
willing to do stuff.
Good, then
So it's probably somewhere. I know
I'm sure it's somewhere in the depths of
the bowels of the rec
the
department
rec
file.
computer or the file cabinet, so it'll turn up.
Good. I'd like to just mention that at the planning board meeting, the planning board recognized Bob Strobel for his 12 years of service. And Tim Jenber spoke very well in terms of, the type of leadership that Bob provided, including how he ran the meetings. And I guess my recommendation to all of us is watch Bob in action on one of the tapes, because he's really good. I mean, you can learn something from him if you watch him. So Tim was very right on point in terms of talking about his abilities to do that. And then I'd also say that Tim's daughter makes a wicked strawberry cake. It was really good. So anyway, thank you formally to Bob also for his help.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So some of the committees, are they needed, or are we going to look at them and see if we need to have different committees? I was asked by a committee chair, because it seems like the committee were not being utilized. For example, the highway committee.
We're going to have a committee day.
No, this is the question. So the two other roads that came up for paving that didn't go to the committee didn't put any input in that. So are we just making decisions and not having the committee look at those first, or not? So because we've not canceled our meeting a few times because nothing's coming to us, nothing about facilities, nothing about highway. So we cancel. So some of the volunteers are outreaching, saying are we needed? Are we not wanted? They have other things to do versus just, keep a Wednesday night available. So when we are doing committees, I think we should really look at that. Now that we have, a facility coordinator, director, whatever, is committee work really necessary? I don't know. That just came to me, so something to think about.
Well, I know Walter spoke specifically that when we start looking at the road plan and stuff, we're looking for help to look at that.
Yeah, as we talked about before, I think even before that, evaluating all the committees, that in really making sure that there's a clear understanding and definition of the charge that, the committees have, so that I can and staff can better understand, what we should be doing in terms of, I've tried to communicate with the facilities chair about the process on the, progress on the facilities list and that type of thing. I think as far as, the roads were concerned, I think we had, the only thing that we added was Bow Street, I think, only because it needs it, number one, and, we ended up having actually more money available than we anticipated because of the default budget, so. But, certainly, once we get the new road plan, that will hopefully give us a map that will take us, where we need to go from year to year, and how the committee interacts with that, obviously, will be a discussion to take place during the,
For right now, we're postponing meetings until the fall.
yeah.
Yeah. When did you think we would have that committee day? Did you think about that at all?
It's on the list.
Yeah.
Hey, we did some policies, leave them alone.
Well, and I know it's on here someplace.
Yeah, it is, and I think some of those dates, as you know, you get amended, based on the some of the other things that are taking precedent.
The big dartboard, he throws that stuff at every day.
I don't see it on the short-term horizon.
I think we have to live with that. I mean, look, we pushed you on the land,
Yes.
our property sales and stuff, we pushed you on the policies, we understand that, so,
It's important.
Some of the members of the committee have done like group emails, and I don't want,
Yeah.
it's not, the chair is asking, we have people asking, so, just saying, we'll be meeting once we get the road plan, just so I have an answer, because I'm representing the board, so I want to make sure that I'm telling them what we're all thinking.
Yeah.
So you're okay with that? Okay.
I think that's okay. Anybody disagree?
Can you restate what we're okay with?
We're going to have a committee day where we talk about all those things in terms of what are the committee's charges, what are the committee's duties, how do they interact with us and Walter and other staff and things like that, so that we can lay out clear guidelines for what everybody's doing, and everybody sits together and helps make sure we all understand what everybody's doing. And we'll use that committee day, and committee day, I think was your
It was
idea.
my idea,
Yeah. I think rather than try to do it half, I think we wait till Walter can do it and do it well.
Absolutely.
I will tell my committees that we will be meeting in the fall. Obviously, facilities for when we start thinking about, what we're going to do for budgeting and what needs to repair, and then highway when we have the road plan.
Yes.
But I just want to really briefly point out that, your committee can meet. It's an advisory
I
committee.
know, we just sit there and we talk about, okay, we're going to talk about it.
But if it's an advisory committee, then the purpose is to give advice, and then there is the chance that advice will be taken or not taken. And I think that's part of the price of being on any committee, is that yes, you're expending time, and it hurts if the advice of the committee isn't taken in the end, but it's kind of how it works. So, I would say that just because things are a little gray right now, it doesn't necessarily mean your committee can't meet. If people are looking to meet and do stuff, great. That's my 2 cents. But I do think, it's being clear in terms of how the committee is established. Those committees that are not driven by RSA or have policy setting type power, then it's always going to be a little murky. So.
Well, I think that, excuse me, and I think that's why this committee day, where we can help firm that up, will at least move us forward, whereas I think it's been murky for a while, I guess. And if we can firm it up, then I think we'll be better off. So unless people feel there's an urgency to adjust his priorities, I would like, just
I just want
as
that.
people to be
Yeah.
patient. But it's certainly part of what we want to do, at least certainly mine.
Excavator.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else for committees? Okay, so then citizens forum, I don't see anybody, so checking that off.
Just one thing, I have the sign file here. Just please double check, because we missed the signature page at the last meeting.
Oh,
And also, there's a revised purchase order. Once one company found out we weren't going to lease from them, they decided that they were going to sweeten the pot for us for the excavator that you approved. Originally, it was approved for Bobcat, New Hampshire Bobcat, for $3,600 for
3 weeks.
3 weeks. And then Equipment East heard about it, and
It's the same company that we bought the backhoe pusher for. They came in.
and contacted Chris and said, we're not losing a deal to them, so they decided to give it to us for $3,000 for a month.
Oh, wow.
So,
We're saving $600 for an extra week.
Anybody else that wants to cut a deal? No.
And it's a better, bigger machine to do the work.
Yeah, that's good.
It's sitting on Harmony Road right now, so.
I got a ditch needs digging up at the playground.
yeah, so we have a new purchase order for that,
Okay.
to keep the record straight.
Thank you.
okay, so at the end of the meeting, we'll
Can we
sign.
start passing that down, though?
Hey,
Okay. Pokey pokey.
Okay, so we need to go into non-public.
Yeah.
How about we take a How about we vote to go into non-public, take a 5-minute bio break, and then come back in 5 minutes in non-public? Does that make sense? And in the meantime, the people that aren't using the restroom can use their pens.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I've talked to Paul about, so he can get out of here to be the intermediate, and when we go back into public, that I would just do that for him?
Yeah, would you?
So that he's going to show me how to, now this ends out, and then I can just, if we're okay with that. I mean, I'll still be here, and
Yeah,
Thank you, Jay.
yeah, it'd be
then
great.
I'll let him,
Get no extra pay for this, we'll
You're
make sure of that.
not that much, but, I mean, I felt bad. Last time we were like 20 minutes. He must have hung around
We
almost
said,
close to an
oh,
hour.
it's
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, well, we're going to get that better, too.
You guys are okay with that, then?
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Let's do that. So what I'm looking for right now is a motion to go into non-public for what purposes, Walter?
We're going to, under RSA 91A:32A,
A, personnel
personnel
/ discipline.
compensation.
So moved.
Rattle it off.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those, oh,
have to
no,
roll
roll
call.
call. Tim?
Yes, aye, here.
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Jim? And Hal is yes. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess, sign some papers,
We'll be
and then
coming
go
back
into...
out of non-public?
Get down
Like for,
here.
to,
Put all them
Only
back
to
in.
adjourn.
okay. Hey, it's empty.
Yeah,
It's coming.
I guess I better use a blue pen.